How's it going, my peeps? This is part 2 of my prediction game video for Daniel Bryan versus Kane in an Extreme Rules match for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, a match we're going to see this Sunday at Extreme Rules. Now, in this video, I'll go into more detail on my prediction and why I think Daniel Bryan is going to be walking away victorious when this match is over. Now, first things first though, who could have thought that Daniel Bryan's first challenger would be Kane out of all people? After WrestleMania 30, Kane was, I wouldn't say, my last pick or the person I would think would least get the first title shot against Daniel Bryan, but I didn't think Kane was going to get a championship match against Daniel Bryan for a while. Especially after he lost against The Shield in such a quick fashion. Not only that, but coming out of WrestleMania, Daniel Bryan could have defended the championship against, so many other challengers. There was, of course, Triple H, who he had to get through to actually get put in the championship match, the triple threat match at Mania. And on top of that, you also had Batista, who Daniel Bryan made tap out at WrestleMania, the original winner, or the winner of the 2014 Royal Rumble, and of course the former champion who's entitled to a rematch since he is the former champion, Randy Orton. So I was thinking it was going to be either Triple H, Randy, Batista, maybe Batista and Randy in a rematch, or maybe a fatal throwaway, something like that. So, to have Kane challenge Daniel Bryan, that was definitely a surprise. After WrestleMania, after Triple H, and the night after Mania, when Triple H challenged Daniel Bryan to a championship match, or actually he didn't challenge him because Daniel Bryan had no choice, when it was Daniel Bryan versus Triple H with the title on the line, and then you had the Shield come in, and Kane, Randy, Batista all fight with the Shield, Reigns spearing Triple H, Daniel Bryan hitting the running knee on Triple H. It was chaos, and it wasn't quite clear who was going to defend the championship, or who Daniel Bryan was going to defend the championship against. There was a few possibilities, and I thought maybe, the most likely scenario would be maybe Triple H versus Daniel Bryan for the championship, since, Randy wanted a rematch, Batista wanted a rematch. Triple H told them to focus on the Shield, and that they'd get the rematch, but after he got his. Now, of course, his, rematch, or his, title shots got interrupted by the Shield. So I thought, okay, maybe because the match between Triple H and Daniel Bryan ended via disqualification since Reigns speared Triple H, that maybe Triple H would get the title shot at Extreme Rules. And at the same time, it also looked like we were going to get the Shield versus Evolution. So it was like, okay, what happens at Extreme Rules? Does, the Shield take on Evolution? But if that happens, then what does Daniel Bryan do? Who does he defend the championship against? What if Daniel Bryan and the Shield take on Evolution and Kane? And then there was also the possibility of, not having the Shield versus Evolution, where it could be Daniel Bryan versus Triple H, and Kane, Batista, and Randy versus the Shield, which I thought could be the scenario. I thought that was going to be the scenario, and then they could have the Shield versus Evolution later. So now we have got the Shields versus Evolution, of course, and Daniel Bryan versus Kane. And, Stephanie McMahon brought the monster in Kane back. We've got Kane now against Daniel Bryan instead of Corporate Kane. Let's face it, Corporate Kane didn't exactly have the best, win-loss record. Corporate Kane lost to the Shield at WrestleMania in 2 minutes or so. Kane, though, Monster Kane, just hit 3 tombstone pile drivers on Daniel Bryan, one on the floor, on the steel steps, and also on the announcer's table. Speaking of that, I'll talk about that tombstone pile driver on the announcer's table a bit later in this video. But anyways, man, first things first, I'm happy that, we've got the Monster Kane back. Being a fan of Kane, I'm always happy when he's in his, I guess, dominant phases. When he's dominating superstars, winning matches, and being in the main event. Kane has always went through like different phases where you'd get the Monster Kane for a while. Or actually, you'd get, Kane would not have the best win-loss record. He wouldn't look weak, but oftentimes, other main event superstars would score victories over Kane most of the time when Kane would face off against other main event superstars. But then, when it came time for Kane, to get a title shot, then we'd have the dominant Kane back, and he'd start scoring victories, and we'd see, like, the Kane of old. We'd see, for example, when he won the World Heavyweight Championship. I'm not talking about the WWE Championship here. I'm talking about, I think it was 2010, when he won the championship off of, I think it was Rey Mysterio. Before that, actually before he even won Money in the Bank, actually when he won the world title was the same night he won Money in the Bank. But before that, Kane wasn't exactly getting a lot of victories. But then he wins the world title, and shortly after, he gets 3 straight victories over The Undertaker on pay-per-views. First match, I think it was a regular match. No, wait a minute. I think the first match might have ended in his qualification. I'm not sure, but first match, I think it was a regular match. But then the second match was a Hell in a Cell, which Kane won. And third one was a Buried Alive match, which Kane also won. So, oh yeah, by the way, this was what I was talking about. As you can see, Tombstone Piledriver through the announcer's table, and the announcer's table broke. It would have been cool if that, if the announcer's table broke when Kane delivered that on Raw. That was pretty cool that the CPU actually pulled that off. But anyways, by the way, I'm playing against Daniel Bryan in this match. Anyways, what was I saying? Yeah, so Kane, he goes through phases where he's not so dominant Kane, and then he goes to going back to being the dominant Kane. But that's the thing, it's like, it's always these phases where, for a short period of time, he'll go back to being, the dominant monster Kane, destroying everybody, but then shortly after, he goes back to being regular Kane. So, while I do think Kane's gonna look pretty strong in this match, I think that this phase of Kane being back to being dominant might only last until, he gets this title shot, or this match against Daniel Bryan, or possibly after a rematch. Maybe after the rematch, Kane even goes back to being a face and gets kicked out of the Authority. I think something I see taking place is Kane fails to win the championship off of Daniel Bryan. So he doesn't win the championship this Sunday. Authority gets pissed at Kane. Maybe he gets one more rematch on an episode of Raw or Payback, and he loses that too. And then they make Kane, or they tell Kane, you're no longer director of operations. And then Kane joins the good side. Maybe teams up with Daniel Bryan once again against the Authority. I could see that taking place, but in no way do I see Kane walking away as the champion. I think this is just the first obstacle Daniel Bryan's going to go through as champion. One that I definitely think, he's going to overcome. And I think they're going to, just like when Daniel Bryan was chasing the championship, the Authority was putting obstacle, after obstacle in Daniel Bryan's way. He overcame all of them. And I think it's going to be the same way here, where they put all these challengers against Daniel Bryan to try and take the championship away from him, but he's going to overcome them until finally, after a while, maybe one of them takes the championship away from Daniel Bryan. And like I said before, I see this match as possibly a way to make Kane a face, through making him lose against Daniel Bryan. Authority gets disappointed in him, and then no longer makes him director of operations, and then he's back to being a face, and possibly helping Daniel Bryan take down the Authority. But of course, I could be wrong, and maybe he's not going to turn face anytime soon. But regardless of whether he turns face soon or not, I don't think Kane's going to be the one to take the championship away from Bryan, especially not this soon when Daniel Bryan just overcame the odds at WrestleMania and finally won the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, and with this being his first reign as WWE Champion that's lasted more than 24 hours. Hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, you can click that like button, I'd really appreciate it, and I'm out. See you guys.